The starship Eternal Caution came out of hyperspace with a soft hum. It floated at the edge of a star system that no one had ever visited before. The ship was old but strong. It had traveled to hundreds of worlds. But the crew inside had never seen anything like what their sensors were showing them. Now, Commander Veleth stood at the center of the bridge. She was tall and thin, with hard shell covering her body like armor. Her two antennae moved back and forth as she read the data on the screen. Her species, the Villani, had explored space for 10,000 years. They had seen many strange things, but the numbers on the screen made no sense to her. "Navigator Priel," she said, "check the sensors again. There must be an error." Priel was not like Veleth. His body was soft and wet, like a living puddle of clear jelly. He floated in a special tank filled with liquid. His species came from an ocean world, and they could not survive in open air. He extended a thin tentacle and touched the control panel. "I have checked 3 times, Commander," he said. His voice was bubbly and wet. "There is no error. The third planet in this system is a Class-20 Deathworld." The bridge went silent. Every crew member stopped what they were doing. Class-20 was the highest rating. It meant that a world was so dangerous that nothing could live there. Not without heavy protection. Not for long. Science Officer Dreeth walked closer to the main screen. She had 4 eyes, 2 on each side of her flat head. All 4 were wide open with shock. Her gray skin had turned pale. "Read the full data," Commander Veleth ordered. Priel's tentacles danced over the controls. "Planet gravity is 1.2 times the galactic standard. Most species would feel heavy and slow there. The atmosphere contains oxygen at 21%. Oxygen is highly reactive. It will burn organic tissue over time." "Continue," Veleth said. Her voice was hard. "The surface is covered with liquid water. 70% of the planet. The water is filled with salt and dangerous chemicals. Large predators live in this water. Some are bigger than our shuttlecraft." Dreeth made a small sound of fear. "There is more," Priel said. "The planet has no shield against radiation from its sun. Deadly rays hit the surface every moment of every day. The planet also has unstable ground. The land itself moves and shakes. Mountains explode with liquid fire. The weather creates massive spinning storms that destroy everything in their path." Commander Veleth felt sick. Her antennae pressed flat against her head. This was a nightmare world. A place designed by the universe to kill anything foolish enough to land there. "Mark this system as forbidden," she said. "We will file our report and leave. No species should ever come here. Commander!" Dreeth's voice was high with shock. All 4 of her eyes were locked on her scanner. "I am detecting something impossible. What is it?" "There are structures on the surface. Artificial structures, buildings, and I am reading life signs. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands." The bridge erupted in noise. Every crew member spoke at once. Veleth raised her hand for silence. The noise stopped. "Show me," she commanded. The main screen changed. It showed the planet's surface. Blue water, green land, white clouds. And there, on a strip of ground between the water and tall mountains, was a collection of buildings. They were arranged in neat patterns. Some were large. Some were small. In the center was a group of bright blue pools. "What am I looking at?" Veleth asked. Dreeth's voice was barely a whisper. "I do not know, Commander. But whatever lives there, they are outside, unprotected, in direct sunlight." Veleth felt her legs grow weak. She sat down in her command chair. Her mind could not accept what her eyes were seeing. Living beings. On a Class-20 Deathworld. With no environmental suits. No protective shields. Nothing. "They should be dead," Priel said. The radiation alone should have killed them in minutes. Magnify, Velith ordered. The screen zoomed closer. Now they could see individual life forms. They were strange creatures. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin in various shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads in black, brown, and yellow colors. They moved on 2 feet with easy grace, despite the crushing gravity, and they were smiling. Velith watched one of the creatures lie down on the ground near the water. It closed its eyes and stretched out its limbs. The deadly sun beat down on its bare skin. What is it doing? Dreeth asked. I think, Priel said slowly, it is relaxing. Another creature ran toward the water. It jumped high into the air and dove into the dangerous liquid. It disappeared under the surface. Every crew member on the bridge held their breath. They waited for a predator to eat the creature. They waited for the water to dissolve its flesh. The creature came back up. It was laughing. It splashed water at another creature nearby. This is impossible, Velith said. Commander, said the communications officer, a small furry being named Teak. I am picking up signals from the surface. Radio waves. They are speaking a language. Our translation system is working on it now. Velith nodded slowly. Her mind was still trying to understand what she was seeing. These creatures lived on a world that should kill everything. They did not just survive there. They seemed to enjoy it. What manner of beings are these? She whispered that no one had an answer. The translation system beeped. Words appeared on the screen. They were from a sign near the largest building on the surface. Welcome to Paradise Cove Resort. Enjoy your stay. Velith read the words 3 times. Paradise. They called this death trap a paradise. I need to know more, she said finally. Prepare a probe for descent. Maximum shielding. Record everything. She did not know it yet, but Commander Velith had just taken the first step toward changing galactic history forever. The probe dropped through the atmosphere like a silver seed falling from the sky. It was built to survive the worst conditions in the galaxy. Acid rain, extreme heat, crushing pressure. But as it descended toward the planet called Earth, even its advanced sensors struggled with the hostile environment. Commander Velith watched the footage in silence. Her crew gathered around the main screen. No one spoke. No one moved. They just watched with growing horror as the probe revealed what life was like on this impossible world that the creatures called themselves humans. The translation system had figured this out from there. Radio signals. Humans. Such a simple name for such strange beings. The probe flew low over the resort area. It recorded everything, and everything it recorded made the crew more afraid. They are deliberately exposing themselves to the radiation, Dreeth said. Her voice was shaking. Look at them. They are lying in the open sun. It was true. Dozens of humans lay on soft platforms near the water. They wore almost no clothing. Their skin was bare to the deadly rays of their star. Some of them had covered their eyes with dark glass, but that was all. The translation system says they call this activity sunbathing, Priel reported. They believe the radiation makes their skin change color. They find this attractive. They want the radiation to touch them? Velith could not believe it. They do this on purpose? Yes, Commander. The probe moved toward the water. A young human female was standing at the edge. She had long black hair and brown skin. She wore 2 small pieces of colorful fabric. Nothing else. The probe identified her through the resort's communication system. Her name was Yuna. Yuna ran forward and jumped into the water. She disappeared under the surface. When she came back up, she was laughing. She swam with strong, easy movements. The water that could dissolve Villani's shell in hours did nothing to her soft skin. The liquid is filled with salt and minerals, Dreeth said. It should be causing her pain. But she seems happy. Yuna was not alone in the water. Other humans swam nearby. Some of them rode on flat boards, using the motion of the waves to push them forward. The waves were huge and powerful. They could crush a Volani transport ship. But the humans treated them like toys. One human male caught a particularly large wave. He stood on his board and rowed it toward the shore. His arms were spread wide. He was smiling so big that the probe's camera could see his white teeth. His name, according to the resort system, was Taiho. When the wave finally broke, Taiho fell into the churning water. He tumbled and spun. The crew of the Eternal Caution gasped. Surely he was dead. No creature could survive such violence. But Taiho stood up in the shallow water. He was still smiling. He picked up his board and walked back toward the deep water to do it again. He is insane, Priel whispered. They're all insane. The probe continued its survey. It flew over an area where humans were preparing food. Commander Velith had thought she could not be more shocked. She was wrong. The humans had created fire. Controlled, burning fire. They stood next to it with no protection. The flames danced and crackled. The heat would cook a Volani alive. But the humans stood there calmly, holding long metal sticks over the flames. They are burning animal flesh, Treeth reported. Her 4 eyes blinked rapidly. They will eat it while it is still hot. They consume other creatures? Velith asked. Yes, they are apex predators. They eat plants and animals. Sometimes at the same meal. The human doing the cooking was an older male named Dongwu. He was laughing and talking with other humans nearby. He flipped the burning meat with practiced ease. The fire did not scare him. It was just a tool. A small human approached the fire. The probe identified her as Jiwoo. She was a child, only 8 years old according to the resort records. She reached toward the flames. The young one will burn herself, Priel said urgently. But Dongwu gently pushed Jiwoo's hand away. He said something to her. The translation came through. Careful, little one. The fire is hot. Then he gave her a piece of the cooked meat. She bit into it without hesitation. The hot food went into her mouth. She chewed and swallowed and asked for more. These creatures taught their children to use fire, to eat burned food, to approach danger without fear. They trained their young to be as fearless as themselves. The probe flew to another area. Here, humans were climbing rocks. A tall cliff rose up from the ground. It was steep and dangerous. Sharp stones waited at the bottom for anyone who fell. A human male named Sungu was halfway up the cliff. He had only a thin rope attached to his body. His fingers gripped the rough stone. His feet found tiny ledges to stand on. He climbed higher and higher. At the bottom, a female named Myri watched him. She held the other end of the rope. She was shouting words of encouragement. If he falls, he will die, Treeth said. Perhaps, Velith replied slowly. But look at his face. He is not afraid. He is excited. It was true. Sungu was smiling as he climbed. He reached the top of the cliff and raised his arms in victory. Myre cheered from below. The probe finally flew too close to a group of humans. They noticed it. Velith expected panic. She expected fear. These creatures had discovered they were being watched by unknown technology. Instead, an older female named Yunji walked toward the probe. She looked directly at its camera. She smiled warmly. Then she waved. She waved at the alien probe like it was a friendly visitor. Like unknown surveillance technology was nothing to worry about. She is not afraid of us, Priel said with amazement. She's not afraid of anything, Velith replied. These creatures live on a world that is trying to kill them every moment of every day. Why would they fear us? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer. Velith made her decision. She had to know more about these humans. She had to understand how they survived, how they thrived, how they smiled in the face of constant death. "Prepare for landing," she ordered. "We are going to meet them." Her crew stared at her with shock, but no one argued. They were too curious, too fascinated, too eager to understand. What kind of creature could possibly call this world paradise? The shuttle landed on a flat area of ground near the resort. Commander Velith and her team wore their strongest environmental suits. The suits were designed to protect them from the worst conditions in the galaxy. On this world, they would need every layer of protection. The door opened. Hot air rushed inside. The temperature was 30 degrees by galactic standard. Most species would find this uncomfortable. Some would find it deadly. But humans walked around in this heat wearing almost nothing. Velith stepped outside first. Her suit immediately began working hard. It filtered the dangerous oxygen. It blocked the radiation. It cooled her body. Warning lights flashed on her display. The suit was already under stress. Dreeth and Priel followed behind her. Priel's mobile tank rolled on small wheels. His liquid body shimmered with nervous energy. Dreeth's 4 eyes scanned everything, recording data for later study. A human was walking toward them. He was tall and broad, with strong muscles under his brown skin. He wore only short pants and thin shoes. His chest was completely bare. He was smiling. "Welcome to Paradise Cove," he said loudly. His voice was warm and friendly. "My name is Dongwu. I am the manager here. We do not get many visitors from off-world. This is very exciting." Velith tried to process his words. He seemed genuinely happy to see them. He showed no fear at all. "I am Commander Velith of the Galactic Survey," she said. Her suit speaker made her voice sound strange. "We detected your settlement and came to investigate." "Wonderful!" Dongwu clapped his hands together. The sound made Priel's tank shake with surprise. "Please, come inside. You must be tired from your journey. Can I offer you something to eat? Something to drink?" He turned and began walking toward the main building. He moved with easy confidence. His bare feet touched the hot ground with each step. The ground that was hot enough to burn Vellani's skin in minutes. "He is not wearing any protection," Dreeth whispered. "I noticed," Velith replied. They followed Dongwu into the building. The inside was cooler than outside, but still warm by galactic standards. Humans walked everywhere. They wore colorful clothing made from thin fabric. They laughed and talked and moved with energy. A young human female approached them. She had short black hair and a bright smile. She wore a uniform with the resort symbol on it. "Hello," she said. "I am Hyung. I work in guest services. Welcome to our resort. Is this your first time on Earth?" "Yes," Velith said carefully. "We have never visited this world before." "How exciting! Earth is beautiful this time of year. The weather has been perfect for the beach." Velith looked at Hyung with confusion. Perfect weather? The radiation levels outside were deadly. The temperature was extreme. The air itself was slowly corroding their suits. "We notice your species is very resilient," Velith said. Hyung tilted her head. "Resilient? I'm not sure what you mean. Your planet is classified as a Class-20 Deathworld, the highest possible danger rating. Yet, you live here without protection. You swim in the toxic water. You expose yourself to radiation. You build fires and climb cliffs and enter the territory of large predators." Hyung blinked at her. Then she laughed. It was a light, happy sound. "Oh, you mean the beach and the hiking trails and the barbecue area? That is just normal vacation stuff. Everyone does it. Normal?" Priel's voice was high with disbelief. "You consider these activities normal?" "Sure. What do you do for fun on your world?" The question stumped the entire team. What did they do for fun? They played calm games. They watched safe entertainment. They avoided anything that might cause injury or stress. We do not risk our lives for entertainment, Treeth said. Hyung looked thoughtful. That sounds a little boring. But I respect it. Different cultures have different ways. Speaking of which, are there any activities you would like to try while you are here? We have yoga on the beach at sunrise, scuba diving in the afternoon, a jungle hike to the waterfall tomorrow. What is scuba diving? Velith asked. You wear special equipment and swim underwater. You can see fish and coral and sometimes sharks. The sharks are usually friendly. Usually? Dreeth squeaked. Mostly. They do not attack unless they are hungry or confused. It is fine. Velith tried to imagine swimming in the toxic ocean surrounded by giant predators that might or might not decide to eat her. Her antennae pressed flat against her head. Dongwu returned with small glasses filled with liquid. Please, try our famous fruit punch. It is made from local ingredients. Priel scanned the liquid with his portable analyzer. This contains ethanol. Ethanol is a poison. It damages organic tissue. It is just a little alcohol, Dongwu said with a wave of his hand. It is good for relaxing. You drink poison to relax? Of course. Humans have been doing it for thousands of years. The survey team exchanged looks of horror. These creatures were beyond understanding. They swam with predators. They climbed deadly cliffs. They drank poison for fun. Nothing on this world was safe. And yet the humans acted like everything was perfectly normal. An older human approached the group. She had gray hair and deep lines on her face, marks of surviving many years on this deadly planet. Her name was Yunji, the same woman who had waved at the probe. You are the visitors from the sky, she said. Her voice was calm and knowing. I saw your little flying machine earlier. Yes, Velith confirmed. We were observing your settlement. And what did you think? Velith considered her answer carefully. She wanted to be diplomatic. She did not want to offend these strange, terrifying creatures. We found your world. Remarkable, she finally said. Yung smiled. It was a warm smile, full of kindness. You were afraid, were you not? Afraid of our sun, our water, our animals, our fire. We were concerned, Velith admitted. Yunji nodded. I understand. To you, this world must seem like a nightmare. Everything here can hurt you. Everything here can kill you. Then why do you stay? Dreeth asked. Why do you live in such a dangerous place? Yunji looked out the window at the beach. Humans were playing in the waves. Children were building shapes in the sand. A couple was walking along the water's edge, holding hands. Because this is our home, she said simply. We were born here. We grew strong here. Every danger you see taught us something. Made us better, faster, smarter, tougher. She turned back to face the alien visitors. Her eyes were steady and unafraid. Your species avoided danger and found peace, she continued. Our species faced danger and found strength. Different paths. Same destination. We are all just trying to survive. Velith felt something shift in her understanding. These humans were not crazy. They were not foolish. They were the product of their environment. A harsh, deadly, beautiful environment that had created something the galaxy had never seen before. I would like to learn more about your people, Velith said. Yunji's smile grew wider. Then stay a while. Watch us. Ask questions. We humans love to tell stories about ourselves. She laughed at her own words. And despite everything, Velith found herself wanting to laugh too. These humans were terrifying, but they were also fascinating. Commander Velith and her team stayed at the resort for 3 days. Every hour brought new horrors. Every moment revealed something more unbelievable than the last. By the end, Velith had filled 17 data files with observations. None of them would be believed by the Galactic Council. On the first morning, the survey team woke early. They had not slept well. The sounds of the Earth night were too frightening. Insects made clicking and buzzing sounds. Ocean waves crashed against the shore. Strange creatures called in the darkness with voices that sounded like screams. But the humans had slept peacefully through it all. They enter a state of complete unconsciousness for 6 to 8 hours. Dreeth reported. She sounded exhausted. They call it sleep. During this time, they cannot move or defend themselves. They are completely helpless. How have they not been killed by predators? Priel asked. I asked about this, Dreeth said. A human named Sungwoo explained it to me. He said that humans used to be prey animals. Many creatures hunted them. But over thousands of years, humans killed so many predators that the remaining ones learned to fear them. Velith shuddered. They taught the predators to be afraid? Yes. He said that nothing on Earth is foolish enough to attack a group of humans anymore. At least not twice. The security officer Sungwoo had shown them around the resort that day. He was a former soldier, a human who had been trained for combat. His body was covered with scars from old injuries. He wore them proudly, like decorations. This one, he said, pointing to a long scar on his arm, came from a knife fight when I was young and stupid. This one on my leg is from a training accident. And this one on my chest is from shrapnel during my military service. Shrapnel? Priel asked. Pieces of metal that flew through the air when something exploded nearby. The survey team stared at him in horror. He had been torn apart by flying metal and lived. He had been cut open by blades and survived. He walked and talked and smiled like these injuries were nothing special. Do all humans carry such injuries? Velith asked. Sungwoo shrugged. Most of us have some scars, cuts, burns, broken bones that healed. It is normal. Life is rough sometimes. He said it so casually, like surviving repeated physical trauma was just part of ordinary existence. Later that day, the team observed humans engaging in something called sports. These were organized activities designed to test physical ability. Humans ran fast across hot sand. They threw heavy balls at each other. They jumped into water from high platforms. Young children played these games too. Velith watched a group of little ones kicking a ball back and forth. They fell down constantly. They crashed into each other. They scraped their knees and elbows on the rough ground. When they got hurt, they cried briefly. Then they got up and continued playing. One small child, a girl named Jiwoo, fell particularly hard. She hit the ground and rolled. Blood appeared on her knee. Velith expected panic. She expected the child to be rushed to medical care. Instead, an older child examined the wound. He nodded seriously. You are okay, he announced. It is just a small cut. Be more careful. Jiwoo sniffled once. Then she wiped her eyes and ran back to join the game. Blood was still dripping down her leg. They do not treat their injuries? Dreeth whispered. The wound is minor by human standards, Sungwoo explained. He had been watching nearby. It will heal on its own. Children fall down all the time. It is how they learn. Learn what? Priel asked. How to get back up. That evening, the humans gathered for a social event they called a bonfire party. They built a massive pile of wood and set it on fire. The flames rose higher than Velith was tall. The heat was intense. Sparks flew into the air like angry insects. The humans sat around this inferno and relaxed. They talked and laughed and told stories. They roasted food over the flames on long sticks. They drank their poisonous beverages and sang songs together. A marine biologist named Mireille sat down next to the survey team. She had been studying ocean life all day, swimming with predators, collecting samples of toxic plants. She looked tired but happy. "You seem uncomfortable," she said to Velith. "Is the fire too hot?" "The fire is dangerous," Velith replied. "You are all sitting very close to it." Mireille looked at the flames. She seemed confused by the concern. "Fire is our oldest friend," she said. "Our ancestors discovered it millions of years ago. It gave us warmth when we were cold, light when it was dark, protection from animals that wanted to eat us. We have lived with fire forever. It is part of who we are. But it can burn you," Dreeth pointed out. "Yes, it can. We learn to respect it. We teach our children to be careful, but we do not fear it. Fire helped us survive. It helped us become the dominant species on this planet." Velith thought about this. These humans had taken one of the most dangerous forces in nature and made it their tool. They had not avoided fire. They had embraced it, controlled it, used it to climb to the top of their world. What else had they conquered? An older human male named Taiho joined the conversation. He was the one the probe had recorded climbing the cliff. His hands were rough and calloused from gripping stone. "I heard you were surprised by our rock climbing," he said with a grin. "Did you know that some humans climb mountains so tall that the air becomes too thin to breathe?" "How do they survive?" Priel asked. "They carry their air with them, in tanks on their backs. They climb for days in freezing temperatures. Many of them die trying, and they still do this, even knowing they might die?" Taiho's grin grew wider. "Especially knowing they might die. That is what makes it meaningful. If there was no risk, there would be no achievement." Velith's antennae twitched. This was madness. Pure madness. These creatures sought out danger. They chased death for the thrill of escaping it. They measured their worth by how close they came to destruction. But looking around the bonfire, Velith saw something else too. She saw community, friendship, joy. These humans faced terrible dangers every day, but they faced them together. They helped each other, protected each other, celebrated each other. Their world was trying to kill them, and they responded by living as hard as they could dot as the fire burned low and the stars appeared overhead. Yunji approached the survey team one last time. "You are leaving tomorrow," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Velith confirmed. "We have gathered enough data. We must report to the Galactic Council." Yunji nodded slowly. "And what will you tell them about us?" Velith hesitated. What could she possibly say? That humans were terrifying? That they were inspiring? That they were the most dangerous and most beautiful creatures she had ever encountered? "I will tell them the truth," she finally said. "That we found something remarkable on this Class-20 Deathworld. Something the galaxy has never seen. A species that does not survive despite their world, but because of it." Yunji smiled. Her old eyes reflected the dying flames. "Good," she said softly. "Tell them we are here. Tell them we are not afraid. And tell them—" She paused, her smile turning slightly mischievous. "Tell them we are friendly. As long as they are friendly too." For some reason, that last part made Velith nervous. The Eternal Caution left Earth's orbit on a clear morning. Commander Velith stood at the main viewport and watched the blue and green planet grow smaller behind them. It was beautiful, she had to admit, even knowing how deadly it was. The journey back to Galactic Survey headquarters took 2 weeks. Velith spent most of that time working on her report. She wrote it carefully, choosing every word with great thought. She needed the council to understand what they had found. She needed them to believe her. It was not easy. How could she explain creatures that drank poison for fun? How could she describe beings who climbed cliffs and swam with sharks and set things on fire for entertainment? How could she make the council understand that these humans were not crazy, but perfectly adapted to their impossible world? Dreeth helped her gather the scientific data. Priel organized the sensor readings and video footage. Together, they built a picture of humanity that was complete but hard to believe. When they finally arrived at headquarters, Veleth requested an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. The request was granted immediately. Word had already spread about their discovery. A species living on a Class-20 Deathworld was unprecedented. Everyone wanted to know more. The council chamber was vast and ancient. Representatives from 100 species sat in tiered rows, all facing the central platform where Veleth now stood. She felt small and nervous. The fate of 2 species might depend on what she said next. "Honored members of the council," she began, "I bring news of a discovery that will change our understanding of life in the galaxy." She told them everything. She showed them the footage. She played recordings of human voices and human laughter. She explained their strange customs and stranger resilience. She described fire and surfing and cliff climbing in sleep. The council listened in silence. When she finished, the silence continued for a long time. Finally, the chief counselor spoke. He was an ancient being, his body more machine than flesh after centuries of life extension. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Commander Veleth, are you telling us that these humans consider their deadly world a place of relaxation? That they go there to rest and recover?" "Yes, Chief Counselor. The location we observed was called a resort. Humans travel there specifically to engage in dangerous activities. They call it vacation." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The word vacation had no equivalent in most galactic languages. Species did not willingly seek out danger for entertainment. "This is concerning," said a delegate from the Volani homeworld. "If they are this resilient on their own planet, imagine what they could do elsewhere. They could survive conditions that would kill any of us." "They could be valuable allies," suggested a representative from the Trading Coalition. "Or dangerous enemies. We should quarantine their system," another voice called out. "Keep them contained before they spread." The debate grew louder. Voices overlapped. Species argued with species. Fear and fascination mixed in equal measure. Veleth raised her hand for silence. Slowly, the chamber quieted. "If I may," she said, "I would like to share one final observation." The council waited. "The humans I met were kind. They welcomed us into their home. They answered our questions honestly. They shared their food and their stories. They treated us not as threats, but as guests." She paused, remembering Yunji's words by the bonfire. "They are dangerous, yes. Perhaps the most dangerous species we have ever discovered. But they are not hostile, not unless given reason to be. They simply want to live their lives on their beautiful, terrible world. I believe we should approach them with respect and openness. I believe they could be friends." The chief counselor considered her words carefully. "And if we approach them with hostility? If we try to contain or control them?" Veleth's antennae trembled slightly. "Then I believe we would regret it." The council voted that day. After hours of debate, they reached a decision. Earth would not be quarantined. Instead, a diplomatic team would be sent to establish formal contact. Trade negotiations would begin. Cultural exchanges would be arranged. The galaxy would meet humanity properly. News spread fast. Within days, every species knew about the Deathworld dwellers who lived and laughed on a planet of fire and poison. Some were frightened. Some were curious. Many were both. Back on Earth, at Paradise Cove Resort, Dongwu received an unusual message on his communication device. It was from someone called the Galactic Survey, and it was requesting a reservation. Not for one room, for 20. "Hi, Young," he called out to his guest services manager. We are going to have some interesting visitors soon. Hyung looked up from her work. The same aliens from before? Them and others. Many others. Hyung smiled. She had been thinking about those strange visitors since they left. They had been so nervous about everything. The sun, the water, the fire, simple things that every human took for granted. I will prepare special accommodations, she said. Maybe we should tone down the activities list. Start them with something easy. Yoga on the beach, maybe. Good idea. And warn the kitchen. These guests might have different dietary needs. No problem. Dongwoo walked outside and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the blue, an entire galaxy was talking about his planet, about his species, about the fact that humans lived on a world that should have killed them long ago. He smiled. The sun was warm on his face. The waves were crashing on the shore. Somewhere nearby, Taiho was preparing for another cliff climb while Ray checked her diving equipment. It was a beautiful day. A normal day. A perfectly ordinary day on what the rest of the galaxy considered a Class-20 Deathworld. Poor aliens, Dongwoo thought. They had no idea what they were missing. He walked back inside to help prepare for the new guests. He would make them comfortable. He would show them that Earth was not a nightmare. It was home. It was paradise, and maybe, just maybe, he would take them surfing. If they survived the experience, they would probably love it. After all, that was the human way. Face the danger. Find a joy. Live every moment like it might be your last, because on a world like Earth, it very well could be. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to be human. They were not ready, but humans would welcome them anyway, because that was also the human way.